prepare it and stage it from the beginning.
There's a lot of truth to the fact that if you get your first buyer and you get your first offer, you should really try and massage that into a deal. I always find that to be true. And if you lose that first buyer, the first interested party becomes a problem. Preston, let's talk about radon.
Okay.
It's not necessarily interesting, but we want to talk about it.
I'm the boring one.
Is radon a problem?
Yes, it is. It's not as prevalent in this area as it is in the mountain areas, and there's a map on the EPA's website that you can look. It's very prevalent up in the around the Dakotas and Montana and up in the Northeast. Pretty much wherever you've got rock, bedrock foundation, there's a lot. But there are pockets of it here, and it's fairly prevalent around lakes. The reason being is well, first of all, let me explain what radon is. Radon is decay of uranium down in the earth, and it seeps out. There's radon everywhere. There's radon in this room. There's radon outside, but it's, most part, it's not a high level, and the EPA considers a high level 4.0 picocuries per liter or higher. I've tested it in my house. I've tested hundreds of houses, probably thousands of houses. Most of the time, it's below 2, but I have had them above 4. What happens around the lake? Let me get back to that. Sometimes around a lake, we have Lake Norman and Lake Wylie, a little bit further south. You have a normal amount that's coming out of the earth. Well, if you have this big lake, it basically is plugging up this area.
Well, I see,
so it's a little bit more concentrated where it's coming around the edges. And obviously, in mountain areas, you've got more rock there, uranium. If you do find out that you have high radon, which the EPA considers 4.0 or higher, you have to get a radon mitigation system, which is basically a ventilation system where it pipes from underneath your house out, and they work very well, and they're not as expensive as you'd think. They're usually run somewhere between $1,500 to $2,500, somewhere in there.
Isn't it very energy inefficient, where basically you're taking out the air of the house? In other words, if it's at summertime, you got the air conditioning on, it's kind of exchanging the air, or is it just taking the air out of the house?
Well, it's actually what it's doing. It's going to pull the air from under the house that's not
So it's pretty much crawl space.
Correct. Or in a basement, or they're going to drill down, and they're basically just pulling from underneath that slab.
Okay. So actually go under the slab and take it out.
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize that. You don't come across much asbestos because you don't have a lot of older houses in this area. I guess downtown you have a lot of asbestos.
Yeah, asbestos was a very popular product up until the 50s. It was used for insulation wrap on ducts, pipes, those old steam systems. I find remnants of that. It was used on siding on houses. When you see those houses that look like the ceramic tile.
Oh, asbestos shingle, right?
Yeah, I own 3 of them actually. I have some rental houses. Asbestos actually comes from a Greek word which means inextinguishable, and they thought it was a miracle fiber because it would not burn. It won't burn. It has R value. You almost never have to paint it. I mean, if it wasn't for that part about it killing you, it'd be a great product. But the problem with asbestos is if it becomes airborne. Or what they call friable. If you breathe it in, your body can't metabolize it. If you have asbestos, leave it alone. If it's on pipes, basically you're going to seal over it or encapsulate it. If it's on siding, as long as it's not being punctured or becoming airborne, you're okay with it.
Mold. I've come across some situations, I'm sure Jamie has come across some situations where you walk into a house where you have a mold smell, a musty smell. You walk into vacant houses.
Right.
Have you ever been in a house where it's so bad you had to walk out? I mean, you just couldn't deal with it.
Another one of my rental houses. Are any of my tenants going to be watching?
No, I don't know.
I had one of my rental houses had a problem on the entire back wall. It was one of these built post-World War II. Funny thing, part of Charlotte over there where the old World War I, Old Dow Road, where Camp Green was. Anyway, they built all these houses, and they didn't have any overhang. So if the gutter overflows, it goes right down into the wall. And I had one where the whole back wall had really bad mold.
So bad drainage, basically.
Yeah, it was every time it rained, it was going down that wall. So we had to gut that whole back wall, and it was the black Stachybotrys mold. But we got it all fixed. There's mold everywhere. I mean, that's where wine and cheese, that's the process it's made from. And wine and the sick house syndrome is definitely a concern. But also, I'm probably going to make some people angry here, but just be aware there are some mold remediation specialists out there who are opportunistic too, that
Oh, it becomes a crisis fee, and I guess this then goes back into into preparing a house for sale by doing a pre-inspection.
Right.
Okay, where I had a property that there was a condominium and it was bad drainage. It was a ground floor condo and it was mold in the back wall as well. And before we sold the house, we just had to take care of it. And if we didn't know that, and the market started to get worse at the time, so we actually got one of the last buyers for that particular complex. So if we didn't prepare the house properly, we would have lost that sale because the buyer would have walked away because, ooh, mold, But basically we took care of it, ripped out the
Kryptonite.
wall. Yeah, so we really took care of it, and that was the end of the story. So mold could be an issue. Just a couple of funny things. You ever see any bats in an attic, and what do you do?
Oh yes, I have seen bats in an attic, and what they'll do typically, they'll get in those gable vents, the vents, the louvered vents, and typically you have screens on the back side of your gable vents to prevent birds and squirrels,
Right.
but those bats will get up there during the day and they actually hang upside down and they poop their guano or whatever gets down inside, so that's a bad, and bats are protected. You can't just go up there and shoot them with a BB gun. Basically you have to get them out. They fly out at night and put a screen on the outside of the gable vent so that they can't get back in. But
Yeah, I've had a seller had a house up in Maryland, and they couldn't remove him for 6 months.
really,
Yeah, they had, and if they had the house inspected ahead of time, they would have avoided that problem. But once the bats were up in the attic, they couldn't remove them for 6 months
they're protected.
because there was a breeding season, some kind of window that they couldn't touch them. They could remove them, but they couldn't kill them. But they had to get a bat remediation guy, I guess, to go up there and take care of it.
It's not cheap.
You have a special program for sellers who want to do a pre-inspection?
Sure, we do. We have basically what we do is a pre-marketing program. We pre-inspect the house, provide the inspection report. We actually provide 10 copies of it so that it can be there on the counter when the people come to look at the house. We put a sign out front saying that it's been pre-inspected, and then we have a program we come back and re-inspect all the stuff that what they repaired.
Right.
And we have a gold level and a silver level and bronze level of how much of the repairs that we certify and will stand behind. And then also we send out an email to our database to all the agents that we've done business with saying, this house has just been inspected to try to help you market it.
You have a little sign writer, I guess you put on a for sale sign too, a pre-inspection sign?
Yeah, we have a pre-inspected sign.
That's really cool. How can we reach you if we have any questions? How can the viewers reach you?
Okay, it's homeinspectioncarolina.com or 704-542-6575.
Very good. Jamie, have we covered the most commonly asked questions with reference to home stagers?
Yeah, I think we have.
Anything else you want to mention? Anything we didn't cover that you can think of?
I guess one thing I can think of is that the National Association of Realtors recommends that sellers spend between 1% and 3% of their asking price in getting their home ready for market to get the most return.
Oh, is that right? I wasn't aware of that.
Yep.
And I think in this market it's very, very important, even though everybody's on a tight budget, of course, and it's becoming a problem.
And that just doesn't cover staging, that covers paint, repairs, any updates that need to be made.
And how can viewers reach you if they want to have any questions?
Viewers can go to my website, centerpiecehomestaging.com, or 704-987-1489.
So again, repeat your website.
Homeinspectioncarolina.com and 704-542-6575.
And centerpiecestaging.com?
Centerpiece Home Staging.
Centerpiece Home Staging. Both really cool names. I really love both of those names. Well, I want to thank you both for taking the time out to come to help our viewers and helping sell their houses, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thanks.